Okay, as Rabbi Kravitz had said, I, Baruch Hashem, have been involved with Oorah for a number of years, and we've seen a lot of amazing stories, very inspirational stories for all of us. Tonight, I'd like to share with you a bit of a historical story, starting in the late 1800s. We'll call the family the Goldstein family. They're attending shul in the Newark area, and it's Yom Kippur. The teenage daughter, one of her teenage daughters faints. Perhaps she's... Go ahead. Perhaps she's a little weak from the fast. And family members rush to her side, trying to revive her. One family member takes a cup of water and gives it to her to drink. The rabbi who's down at the pulpit looks up, and you have to remember, this is the old-time shul with the balconies. And he looks up and he sees a little girl drinking water on Yom Kippur. Without thinking anything else, he loses himself and he starts scolding the family. This is a holy day. You're desecrating this holy day. How can you do a thing like that? The family promptly walks out of shul. They're insulted. They walk out of shul, and they walk across the street to a Reformed temple, and they stay there for generations. Unfortunately, many of the family members intermarry and the American way. We know what happened to that family. Let's fast forward a number of years to 2010. A Mr. Goldstein, a descendant of the same family, approaches Oorah, and he's interested in a Torah Mate. What does he want to do? He wants to learn how to read Hebrew. Like many of our Torah Mates, they want to start off with learning how to read Hebrew. And we teach him Hebrew. We have a great Torah Mate. He does a wonderful job. Mr. Goldstein is a very quick learner. He learns Hebrew. He graduates to Chumash. Starts learning Chumash. Also doing well. At this point, I sense that, maybe I could pop the big question. And I go to Mr. Goldstein. I say, Mr. Goldstein, can I ask you something? Sure. How would you like to send your kids to yeshiva? And he says, I can't do it. I just can't do it. Okay. So I nudge him a little more, and he says, you know what? Maybe afternoon, day school, that Sunday school type thing. Okay. We find a place for him. Oorah helps a little bit with that. But then we decide, let's take this to another level. I actually tell this to other Torah-Mate coordinators. Let's try to ratchet things up a little bit. Let's give him the full Oorah experience. So we send him a sukkah. He sits in the sukkah, loves it. He goes to a Shabbaton, unbelievable. Sends his kids to the zone, tremendous. Chill zone, the full Oorah experience. Everything except the Rebbitzins, perhaps. He didn't need that. At this point, I'm ready for that big question once again, that $1 million question. Mr. Goldstein, how about now? Are you interested in sending to a yeshiva? He tells me, you know what, Rabbi Beer? I really am interested. I'm really excited about what's going on in my life all these years, the last 2 years. But I have two major problems. What's the problem? Number one, my father happens to be is a very wealthy lawyer who actually helps support me financially. And as you can imagine, my family history, they're extremely hostile to anything Orthodox. If he would find out that I send my kids to yeshiva, that's the end of the financial support. I don't know if I could risk it. And number two, and this is even more so, my mother on her deathbed, believe it or not, made me promise that I would never have anything to do with the Orthodox. And I wouldn't send my kids to yeshiva. How can I go against my mother's wishes, the deathbed wishes? How can I do that? So I tell him, as far as your father's concerned, you'll see that when he sees these kids, these beautiful Jewish kids, growing in character, developing like nice people, and he'll compare them to other kids, other popes, he'll come around. You have nothing to worry about. And as far as your mother, who's in the world to come, in Olam Haba, the greatest chus, the greatest merit that she can have right now is to have grandchildren who are learning Torah. There's nothing more than that, and I can assure you that in the place that she is, that she would welcome this totally. You have nothing to worry about. So he relents. And Baruch Hashem, we locate a yeshiva, and I just have to tell you that I've become very good friends with the principal of the yeshiva. It's a well-known yeshiva. And he told me that these kids, they went right to the top of the class. They love Yiddishkeit, they love Kashrus, they love Shabbos. It's unbelievable what that this whole family has turned over through this.
Rabbi Beer, how long did this take, this whole story?
This took, well, it was 2010 when they came to us, as we said. So now we're in 2014. So we got the kids in it was last year. That's what we're talking about.
This is how Oorah stays on top of a family. We don't give up. We reach into the next world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're going to stay with them, Mitzvah Hashem. The kids, when they get Mitzvah Hashem to high school, Mitzvah Hashem. But there's two, let me just mention one more thing over here. The question was, when it came to paying the tuition, there's a few kids here, not just one kid. And, it didn't seem like it was doable. But that's where the Oorah's tuition program comes in. And that took care of the bulk of the tuition. But then, we still had some more to go. So what we did was we actually talked to the Torah Mates. He is a wonderful Torah Mate who simply heroically took it upon himself to raise the rest of the money. And Baruch Hashem, the kids are in yeshiva. Just two quick postscripts to the story. Incredibly, that grandfather, the one who was hostile towards Yiddishkeit, he, as we thought, is coming around. He's proud of these kids. He has not by any means cut off his financial support. And number two, the family sold their house and they moved near a shul. So they actually walked to shul on Shabbos. And here's the clincher. For the first time in over 100 years, over a century, members of the Goldstein family attended Yom Kippur in a frum shul this past Yom Kippur.
Wow. And we're sure the mother is getting nachas right now in Olam Haba. She should be a Malitzas Yosher for the entire family.
I had a quick question, Rabbi Beer. How many Torah Mates do you manage or coordinate?
I myself have about 100, but there's, we have a few thousand probably all together with the women and the men.
And could anybody who expresses interest just join and they're able to do it? What gets them ready to join from our end?
Well, I mean, again, one of the problems is people think that they don't know anything about kiruv. They don't know how to answer people's questions. Most of the people that come to us, I'd say about 98% of people that come to us, they're not going to ask you, prove to me that God exists. They just want to learn Torah. That's